Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the moon square or opposition Saturn in a natal chart. Now, some of you may remember when I first started my YouTube astrology channel, I did a series on the aspects in a natal chart. They were a little bit concise, and some people may refer to them as snappy. So what I decided to do is make another series on them in which the videos would be a little bit longer and more descriptive. So anyway, first thing up is if you have the moon square or opposite Saturn in a natal chart, there may be difficulty meeting that need, which is the moon needs in career, which is Saturn related endeavors and ventures. If Saturn is in Sagittarius, as an example, career-related endeavors may include publishing, advertising, printing press operation, something that may involve exploration, foreign travel, sports, the outdoors. As some examples, career-related endeavors may also be done with a lot of optimism, enthusiasm if you have Saturn in Sagittarius as an example. Now, also, too, there may be certain trouble in concentrating, which is Saturn, on one's emotional needs, which is the moon. If the moon is in Gemini, as an example, emotional needs may simply be manifold ones or could often involve communication, disseminating, assimilating information, things that involve manual dexterity, such as auto or refrigeration mechanics, as some examples. And excuse me, the thing too about the moon square or opposite Saturn in a natal chart can be where there may be a lack of discipline, which is Saturn, in terms of the emotions and the reactions and responses, which is the moon. I had somebody I knew that was a friend. I use the term loosely, who had the moon square Saturn in his natal chart. He had the moon in blunt Sagittarius. I'm sorry, he had it opposite. He had the moon in blunt Sagittarius, and he had Saturn in Gemini, forming an opposition aspect. And he is very, the moon in Sag by itself can be tactless to the point of demoralizing somebody. But he just, but the fact that it made the opposition to Saturn had a complete, lack of, you know, ability to discipline the responses. I said something to him one day and said, and he just, yelled at me and said, something about my room being disgusting or something, and just, you can see where this aspect can have these aspects, period, can have, little discipline in the response department. But anyway, the thing, another thing about these aspects can be as far as how it may manifest in a natal chart. It can be where the person may be more sensitive, which is the moon, regarding their social status and their stature in life, Saturn, than most others. And this same person that I described, with the lack of discipline and response, it seemed like he was very down on himself regarding his social status and stature. And if I can remember him being on the phone with his gal pal one day, and he kept hanging up on her, and he said, well, maybe I'll make more money, and then he'd hang up. And it was just it was a reflection that he was just completely, despondent and unhappy in terms of where he stacked up with others in life. And another thing that about a moon square or opposite Saturn in a natal chart is that this could also, be expressed in some cases where the mother, which is the moon, and the father, which is Saturn, may be divorced, separated, or simply incompatible. And of course, naturally, you got to look at other things. It could be contraindicators in your own natal chart, or the actual synastry that exists between one's mother and father in terms of their compatibility. But I have encountered a number of people that have the moon square or opposite Saturn in their natal chart, where there's, the mother and father are either divorced, separated, or even if they are together, they're simply, just not compatible and they don't get along. The situation is contentious between the people. Now, another thing, now let's say if Saturn is in Cancer, the zodiac sign Cancer as an example, the father may actually be a Cancer sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply embody the characteristics of the sign. It could be somebody that's sympathetic, nurturing, caring, tenacious, dedicated, devoted, but at the same time may be overly clingy, moody, and temperamental as well. Another thing about these aspects is that if you have the moon square or opposite Saturn in a natal chart, it may manifest in certain difficulty, nurturing and caring, which is the moon, for the father, older people, and authority figures, which is Saturn. If Saturn is in Virgo, as an example, those people, father, older people, authority figures, one or more, may actually be a Virgo sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply embody the traits of the sign. It could be, people, that are rather persnickety, punctilious with details, analytical, critical, judgmental, pedantic. It could be people that are very organized and clean, as some examples. Now, another thing about these aspects is it could be expressed by having certain issues, in terms of business, which is Saturn, with the public, which is the moon, and it could be, whether it's just, certain friction, with the people, if you're involved with the public in a business in some capacity, whether it's a compatibility or whether it's just trying to get the business going, in terms of with the public, and, it could be just, again, like the lack of rapport. If, Saturn is in Aries as an example, the business may be tied into welding or carpentry, or it could be doing some, field, associated with fire. It may be, business may also be one where it's just something that you expressed a lot of pioneering. Person expressed a lot of pioneering, energy in connection with it. It could be even helmet or hat design or something associated with the volatile sports such as football, or hockey, as some examples. And also, with these aspects, it can be hard to find structure, which is Saturn, in one's home life, which is the moon. Now, if the moon is in Pisces, as an example, that home life may be somewhat, chaotic, or it may lack some kind of organization, but it might be one in which you are, where you're very, idealistic, regarding, matters, as far as connected with the home. It might be what you see as an ideal home, or one that you had fantasized about. It might have a lot of mystical, things and qualities in it, metaphysical, possessions, as some examples. Now, another thing about these aspects is that the father, which is Saturn, may not be compatible with that unconscious side of you, which is the moon. If the moon is in Libra, as an example, that unconscious side may be one that's refined, charming, tactful, diplomatic, equitable, but may also be ambivalent and indecisive as well. And you may often, not, as far as, feeling, which is the moon, negative and pessimistic, just in general, which is Saturn, and you may often be, feeling, just about whatever it is you may be doing, in those things, this may often occur, sadly, with this, with these aspects in the natal chart. And also, too, you may often see the negative aspect of things. And the thing, too, is about the moon square or opposite Saturn in a natal chart is that the people that you're close to home with, which is the moon, may often not be in agreement with your work and career, which is Saturn. If Saturn is in Aquarius, as an example, the work and career you're involved in may be associated with astronomy, computers, electronics, astrology, innovation, meteorology, or aviation, as some examples. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.